but I think we get a lot done. Have good turnout. I think, yeah, there it is. Dave Tuckett's about the only one that's boycotted us, I think.
Yes, it will.
But I knew he couldn't come, and then also Ben Ford said he could come, so.
To tell you, all you need to do is say here.
I think Monday night's a good night. You know, nobody's getting say anything. Anyway, thanks for coming. So what we want to talk about tonight is kind of three things, but the main thing, we're working on a strategic plan for Payson City for economic development. So we want to kind of go through that and see if we started one about 2 years ago. Some of you helped work with that. Lynn did. Well, I know who's not here. David, Charles isn't either. So anyway, so we started working on it a couple of years ago, and Kevin helped on it too. So so we want to kind of go through that and make sure we're on track, and then we want to talk about just this committee, and then the last thing is goals for 2024. So I hope y'all have cell phones because you're gonna have a bunch of tests today. So we'll get started here. It's just economic development for Payson City. This is just our mission statement for our board. Economic Development Board promote economic development, improvements of all business conditions in Payson in order to maximize employment opportunities and tax base quality of life. Primary focus of the committee should be the board is to recruit industrial and retail businesses, help existing businesses grow and thrive. Its secondary focus is tourism, educational opportunities, residential development, downtown development. The committee serves as a conduit between the commercial interest of Payson and the municipal government. Then one thing we just have to remember is our tagline and for our branding is home to adventure. So basically everything kind of has to revolve around this tagline, or we kind of lose. That's why we have home to adventure in the branding. So next thing I need to do is gonna get to another place here. We're gonna do some fun stuff. You need your phones for this. So you can oops. Scan that. Join. We tried this today. Make sure it will work. And stuff. It always does. The sleep plans. Dave? Hey, how are you? Good. Good back. Now we're getting food. There's food before we sit down.
Get allowed.
Well, I got another one that.
Right.
Does it on the way here?
Is that Charles? Yes.
Go over to setting. What? And this is we would take it.
I'll be here from now on.
There it is.
Oh, look at that. And scan them,
Oh, here comes Ryan.
or you can use the code if you want under menti.com. Use the code. So what this is some of you've done this before, but we're gonna have a bunch of these. This is a cloud response, so it kind of shows what your preferences are with cloud. So if you just want to go in and put your responses and then do submit. And we're eating Mexican food tonight.
I was gonna say, this is starting to sound like the front runner meeting you've had. But not Mexican.
Try to be more specific. I'm trying to see if you'd be specific, like, yeah, somebody put Olive Garden, Texas Roadhouse, or Ruby River or something.
You want to be more specific than that?
I want a specific restaurant. Not just, so I'm trying to see which ones everybody really wants to come here, not just, so Ryan, you split this code,
Yes, I'm trying to sign in right now. Thank you.
okay. There's food there too.
Oh, thank you.
Enough time to do that, or you want to put some more in still? Glad somebody put true religion in there. We're trying to get that here.
I want to add to that.
Gosh, they're good.
Well, the way this works is that it just puts the most important ones, the bigger they are, when more people put those in now, so. Okay, so we'll save this, go back to it later. So it looks like Texas Roadhouse is the biggest one that most people want, and then Outback Steakhouse. It looks like steakhouses are high on the list, and what else is on there? Another Longhorn, Applebee's. True Religion, you got two religions, so anyway, so this is just kind of fun. This is kind of a prelude to some of the other things we're gonna do, so. We're gonna go to the next one. Well, now it should say that you can do the next one, so this is a big box store, again, let's be specific. I just want to see what big box stores you might think you want, Payson, or.
So do we want to keep in mind that Spanish Fork has some of them,
You
or?
can do whatever you want, doesn't mean we'll get them.
Hmm.
Trader Joe's a big thing.
Do you shop very often?
No, there's one by my daughter's house.
Need more time?
It's just so unique.
Mhm. Hey, what about what about here?
Yeah, the cashier got, well,
Popular shop.
So it looks like Home Depot is by far the biggest one. You got Sam's Club and I saw one on here, Chills. It's interesting. I talked to the person over PRI for the church. And they're gonna have all that property around the interchange. And one that I said, what if you had your pick of any like big box, Anchor? They said Pro Bass Shop, so.
I was gonna put that up, but I hit the wrong button. I was gonna put it up there.
Anyway, so that was interesting to me, so. Thank you, so, okay, now, so you know how to do it now, so you go back here. Back to the PowerPoint. Technology is all working smoothly. Okay. So just some quick facts, just kind of some fun stuff. Basic population, Current trade area goes up to, our trade area, and I'll show you a map of that later, but 125,000 people now, will be 200, almost 250,000, 2050. Most of our people drive outside of Payson to go to work. 14%, only 14% work in Payson, which is kind of interesting. Our daily traffic counts, all the new stuff that's going on, MTech, high school, gun range, streetscape downtown, sewer plant upgrade, new interchange. We got a couple million square feet of commercial coming in, and few thousand residential lots have been approved.
I have a question.
Yeah,
You want this Main Street work, is that gonna be a two-way street or just one gonna be one way?
give me one way up. So it'll be a little less parking because right now we have the diagonal parking, but it's gonna be just parallel parking along Main Street. But we're this summer, we're gonna finish the parking lot over here behind the library. This one's gonna repave. You go over to 100 west or east. We restriped that and that is about 44 parking stalls. So, and that's only a block away from everything. When you walk a lot farther than that when you go to the mall. So there is quite a bit of parking.
By the way, we bought the parking lot behind the ERA so that we can protect that and make it public parking. Before, some, not saying ERA would do it, but potentially they could say, well, nobody but us keep parking in that. But now we've got that water retention underneath it and the parking lot, so it'll add some parking as well.
The parking at Ace Hardware, is that all?
That's private.
Most of it's private, not all of most of it.
Gun range is done deal.
No, I can give you an update on the gun range. So the gun range, since we started this, they had new CEO, new board members, a lot of changes, but we kept them in line, kept working with the BLM. Been into it almost 2 years. But one of the big things I was really concerned about was the appraisal, because and we started the appraisal process. It's that BLM says it had to be appraised with best value, and it can't be shown that BLM owns the land. So I was thinking, well, best value is residential, and BLM would never allow that, but you can't say that they own the land. So I was really worried about it. But and the appraiser and BLM have been going back and forth for a month now. But I did get the appraiser to kind of give me a ballpark figure, and it's going to be quiet if it comes in the way he's talking. So I think that was a big hurdle. Once that's done, and they're supposed to be at the end of this month sending out letters to the land. Process is moving along. Don't see it's going to have a problem with it, but who knows? But I think it's going to happen. And they are in the process. So at one time they had grandiose plans and like putting in indoor shooting range, besides the clubhouse and a restaurant, and that they had to put all this in their plans. So if they ever do it later, it's in their plans now.
The timeline that they would like to see happen, if it's okay, they'll add this. Timeline is, to buy it by the fall of this year, August or thereabouts. And then hopefully late summer, early fall to start construction 2025, if everything goes right.
Just a few things, just a little bit about Payson, amount of housing and drive time, population drive time, growth rate, things like that. If you have any questions, I love questions, so let's just keep asking them. And this is more a profile of our income. So, a lot of it's between $50,000 and $50,000. So it's a little higher than you think for household income. And our population is really young. This is just a lot of numbers here, but if you look over here, this is just the sales tax. So that's one thing that really drives the city, and with economic development, that's because if you look at housing, it costs like $1.3 for every house that you have. And so you gotta have something to help pay for that, and industrial and helps and retail helps that, but, we're at, last year we brought in 5.7 million, so it's, increased about 5% from the year before, but you can see that, we've increasing, or down here, probably the best way. So the last 10 years, we increased 117% from almost double amount of sales tax 10 years. Property tax is almost 200%. And part of that is we've kept our mill levy the same, but also as we brought in more houses, more industrial and retail, that property tax has gone up. So that really helps the budget when you bring in that. So if you go over sales tax and property tax, it increased by 4.5 million in 10 years, which is 130%. And then our population has only grown 19%. And then if you look in inflation too, because that offsets what's coming in, but it's only 26% versus 130%.
So is that gross or net?
That's just sales tax period, what we get.
What you get?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Brian, who are the real heavy hitters as far as sales tax contributions to the city? Is it Walmart? And I mean, who are the big ones?
It's Walmart. We can't give out specifics of who does what with sales tax, but it's Walmart by far.
Okay.
Yeah. That is just fun for me because I like this.
As far as SRB added significant to that, and would they get a concession to help?
They got a concession to come, and I can tell you what it is, it goes downhill, goes down from that, but if I remember right, first 2 years is like 50% of sales tax. And but all the park tax came to us, which is 10% of what we're getting from sales tax. And then they got some on property tax, but it goes down to, 5 or 6 years, it's down like 10%.
Real quick with Walmart too, Walmart just went through a very major remodel process and added the fuel station there. And so, and then added the internet capability more to the east side. So they're still investing in Payson. Right.
So from the park tax, since it started, we've got over $2 million from park tax, which is something we didn't have before, but it's gone in pick block courts, trails, and lots of things in Payson. So that's a really good asset to us that we can help get. It's just construction information. So we have total construction value. You see last 4 years, it's been really high. This is year to date. So we're already year to date, fairly high compared to, all these years. But I'm guessing we'll go up in here someplace. And then our commercial construction value taken off the last few years, which is really good. That's starting to bring jobs and things like that. Again, we started out the year pretty strong.
Brian, does that 2024 reflect the Jones Bank West building? Is that still?
I'm guessing that was probably in 23. Because this is when they got the building.
Because that's like a $6-8 million facility, so.
Then this just housing starts. You can see that took off really good, and then the last year it dropped off a lot. This year's probably gonna stay about the same last year, but this is really interesting. This is one reason they were up so high, because you look at our multifamily versus our single family in 2021. Well, in 2020 it was 60%, 2021 is 70%, and 2022 is 83% of our houses were multifamily. So we start adding multifamily. That's easier to build housetops or rooftops with multifamily versus single family.
What's the definition of a multifamily?
Anything with anything over one, that's twin home or anything like that.
Technically
it's stat.
But I look at just anything over a single family on a lot.
What's the name of that development we went saw today? Arrowhead. Yeah. Arrowhead Ranches, and they've got big plans there too. They're doing all the infrastructure there, but once all the infrastructure, the economy levels off a little bit, there could be a lot of potential growth there.
And it's gone down, last year it's down to 46%. So I think that's probably more in line what we hope to see. As it's nice to get for have some housing for workers too. And we're kind of short on that, but filled out pretty good.
We're talking about some of these individual things as we go on, or
No,
I need to talk about them now while we're.
if you want to talk about them, I kind of left those out so we could move through, but I had a list of them, but I didn't put that in. Yeah, ask questions.
Are we gonna talk about this at all? And
Just as we go through economic development, the questions, how economic development works, and it should tie into that.
well, then I have a comment.
Yeah,
And I've been criticized for this comment before and probably will be again, but it's still my opinion. And I don't want to sound elitist as I say this, because I understand we need affordable housing and we need to provide housing for young people and workers. But we don't focus on executive housing, that I can see. And, you know, if we want businesses to come to Payson, we also would like those business owners and managers and executives to come to Payson. But there's no place for them to live. You look at even probably now, businesses, the bigger businesses in Payson. I doubt if any of the executives or owners live in Payson.
I think Devin can talk to that too.
We
with
need to
doctors.
provide
Yeah.
that housing element as well, rather than focusing completely on affordable housing. That's my opinion.
Well, one of the problems we've got is how much pressure the state puts on us, and I think you're aware of that.
Well, I know, but unless that's changed, since I was on the council, the requirement was 25% of your housing inventory. I think we far surpassed.
Well, I think we have to.
Yeah, and it's changed a lot since you're on the council, the pressure from the state,
The
but
thing that
you're
it comes down to though is it's up to the
right,
builder.
right, that's.
We can't force the builders to build.
Well,
executive
we
housing.
can't force the builder to build, but we have some control over what they build by.
We've got some nicer housing coming down by the temple. New subdivision down there that I would consider executive housing, and then also South Main Street.
Where would you put the executive homes?
Well, that's just my opinion. When I,
Well, no, I
Oh,
know, and I
agree.
appreciate that,
think
but where would you
everybody
put
agrees
them?
with-
I agree with you as well.
But again, it's going back to. Who's gonna build, what developer's gonna do that because of the cost?
well, and I understand that, Brian, but my point has always been. We just allow them to keep doing it.
Right.
We don't ever put our foot down and say, no, we want a place for some executive housing in our community.
Or could we define that up front and say this is an area we want to focus on that? I think that's
That's what I
probably
was
the
trying
point.
to
But we don't.
And then keep the lot size bigger and that kind of thing in terms of what we require of them. It's something you look at.
For sure, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm just going through this book. There was a lot of good stuff in this book, by
It's
the
a
way.
good book, yeah.
But one comment in here that he made, and I agree with, is now, today, it's almost as much of when you're thinking about bringing businesses into your community, it's almost as much about, do I want to live there? And then I'll bring my business there.
So I agree with you. That's one thing that we do, when we go through this, we make sure we emphasize that too, but.
And I beat this, and Brian will get a kick out of this, but I beat it to death, the place that we could have some executive housing.
I was gonna tell you, Mayor, you gotta say this.
And we mentioned it with Elk. I would love to see a study made of Elkridge and bringing Elkridge into the community. That's a good area for some executive housing. That would be a benefit for us. I think it would probably be more of a benefit for them than for us, but we need to find out what the benefits are and what the counterindications are. And, you know, I've talked to both of the current mayor and the previous mayor, and you know, they're lukewarm to it, but they're not against it either. And, but I think we need to do a deep dive in it and find out what the advantages are and what the detractors are. The advantage for us would be the executive housing, and it would be rooftops so that we can attract more of those types of businesses, because they don't pay attention to the demographics. Brian's done demographics time and time again. They don't seem to pay attention, that they pay attention to rooftops. And we could solve some of Elkridge's problems by the density that we have got and can do along the I-15 corridor. It doesn't belong up in Elkridge. Keep that aesthetically like it is now. We already do all their sewer. And so I think there's a lot of traction there that we could make and I've yet to talk to an Elkridge resident Well, I haven't talked to them all, obviously, but I've talked over the 6 years, I've talked to a lot of them and some of them say, well, why haven't we done it yet? And so there's some good traction there. And I think, again, that would be a logical place for it.
Well, and I would suggest that most of the executive type people that we have in our community either live nearby, either live in Oak Ridge or Salem.
But if it was in our city limits, we could point.
So we do have a good, and Robert's taking good notes. So.
Well, I would also say that Patterson is working on over 200 lots of further development of single family high-end housing down at the 1900 South and up the mountain. So I think you have to also take into consideration the market. I mean, you talk about executive housing, what is that in today's market?
Well, you do have to.
I mean, $800,000 doesn't buy what you think it
You
would.
do have to
back then.
consider the market, but I would also suggest that we have pretty much determined our market. We have set our own market and so there isn't a market for that kind of housing and there never will be if we don't do something about it.
Well, there's what's his out by Spring Lake, one that caused all the was it
Map.
Rob McNeil.
Rob McNeil's got it's about 35 homes. They're all gonna be $1 million plus homes. And it's, the view of the Spring Lake area. So that's a starting of that type of executive housing. But
So Larry, going back to what you're saying, I think a lot of this discussion deals with that because as we build our community, so we aren't just pacing like we used to be, but we're pacing of who we want to be. And part of that is bringing those executive housing. People want to have a nice home up the hillside or something like that. So that's a lot of this. And I remember you got around the golf course. There's actually somebody who wants to put how many lots, 5-acre lots out West Mountain area? 19. So that would be executive housing. Then we got the Patterson and P Mountain. That could be that. So point well taken. That's what we want in this discussion is we want to have this discussion. So thank you. Okay.
So, Brian, how many of those multifamily are living here? Is there a percentage that you know of that aren't being housed yet?
Those that are
I
unoccupied.
would guess most of them are the departments. I don't know if those are full yet, but down by Ridgestone. But I think everything else probably pretty much full. I don't think there's a lot of vacancy in Payson. So this is just kind of interesting as we're trying to sell Payson. We have a temple here and we're not unique anymore. I think how many temple is going to be a new topic. But we still have one of the biggest, nicest temples. So
That's unique.
That's.
yeah, a lot of people come here. I just did a state conference Sunday, and one of the general authorities there said, "Yeah, my daughter came down here to get married and all this stuff." So it's still a nice attraction, but we do bring people from a long ways away, and that's just some of the numbers from I don't know why that's there. But you can see it like anyway.
It's okay. There you go. It's like a version. Just keep going.
Anyway, so I think this is like 100 miles away, 23% and 250. So like we got 35% of people coming from over 100 miles away to come to our temple by traffic count. So.
Which is so vital. We have the conversation about more restaurants, so we can for sure. That is
And we need to get more restaurants. And the only thing you look at is rooftops.
exactly, yeah.
And that's one of the things that will help us is the CMP. It'll bring some of those things without having to have the rooftops because of the tourism segment of that as well. So it'll bring some prowess that way.
I'm just trying to, some of this is just laying groundwork. So as we have a discussion, we have some groundwork. So this is just the information on Payson Walmart visitors. 15%, only 15% come from Payson, but Santaquin 7, Sandy Fork 7, but you get cleared out of Nephi, Salem, Delta. And so we're able to show, we put stuff together for Home Depot, a lot of developers too, as they're trying to get Sam's Club and things like that. Really like this information, so we put this together, show our trade areas, not just a concentric circle 10 miles or something like
Are
that.
you aware of the numbers for Costco?
For Costco,
Yeah, they draw.
yeah, I haven't done the
huge
numbers for
percentage from
Costco.
way south,
I'm sure they do, but I haven't done them for Costco.
but I think that those numbers would help us as well, supporting a big box like that from
Right.
Nephi and.
Well, we could show them, like, if you got Sam's Club, you could say they can stock there. So this is kind of our trade area. And so instead of a population of 23,000, we could show we have a population of 125,000. That makes a huge difference for when you're trying to get somebody to come do something. And this is eye-opening, is like show commercial brokers this information. This is a lot different than I was thinking. And also, so this could go up to 2030, be about 187,000.
Why doesn't it go north?
Because there's already stuff up there, and so they don't come south. I mean, you got Costco, you got Walmart, all in Spanish Fork and that, so they already shop in their area, but where do people from the south come? They come north and they stop in Payson. They come to Temple, or they just come up to shop, and that they might go farther, but a lot of them will stop here because they can get what they need. But like we had Home Depot, they could get a lot more what they need, wouldn't have to keep going, or Sam's Club. So.
Yeah, Home Depot, we've talked till we're blue in the face. We really have. I've got this lady, her name's Kim. I can't pronounce her last name, but she's
It's not
in
me.
Atlanta, Georgia. Well, not this Kim, but talked to them. And I had a pretty good email train going back and forth with her. And then it kind of went silent, and maybe you're going to mention this, Brian, but we Placer, we did a study, and if they were to locate that, and we've shared this with her, if they were located at Home Depot in Spanish Fork, like they want to go head to head against Lowe's, the cannibalism rate of their Provo store would be 75%. Yeah, they can't do that. If they located it in Payson, it would drop down to a 50%, which is survivable because you get more from the south and they've stopped here. And so, you know, with Brian, we met her down at the ICSC conference a couple years ago. Was able to get her name from a source that told me don't ever reveal my name because it would be a conflict for them, but they wondered how the hell we ever got to her, and we've got to her. And so it's an ongoing conversation. And it goes back to them saying rooftops, how many rooftops you got?
What Brian just said, 125,000.
Yeah, it's exact. Tell them she's got that. We sent this to her.
So what is Woodbury's input on all of this? I mean, I know you guys are working your tails off, but what is their input?
They are too, and I've given them this information too, but they've been out contacting
Have
people.
they?
Oh, yeah.
This information was also relayed to Smith's Food King to locate a marketplace here. And I bugged the president of Smith's to death. I'm gonna bug him some more, but now he's the senior vice president of Kroger too. Kenny is his name. And we'll keep doing it.
There you go.
So that's just a heat map, this is for the temple, it just shows we get visitors from all over the United States for coming to the temple area. This just off traffic counts. It's really interesting, this software, you can't do it over a church institution or a school. So I did just traffic counts coming in between like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and you know, trying to eliminate, and not Mondays because they don't, temple not open anyway, trying to eliminate all that stuff. But this kind of shows you how it's used. Again, we just our mission statement. So let's go back to meter if I can get back to this. So you read the book, and I sent you some stuff. So this question. Let's go to the next question. What are the different facets of economic development that are important to Payson? So just think of anything with all the different facets of economic development. What do you think is important for Payson? It's more than just bringing a restaurant and a big box store.
I think one of the big things is appearance.
Okay, so this is on your phone. You can go put this in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks for the answer, though.
We're back at the test dive. This one's not like the others. This is, you put big sentences in it if you want. So it's not just the few words. Then we can keep this, so. And you put more than one response, but once you hit submit, well, actually, this one, I think you do submit, then it goes to the next, you keep submitting. So just keep submitting till you're done.
Oh, so don't put all responses in this first box, but you want to.
Right. Lots of good ideas here.
I should have put it, but I said already submitted it, but the other thing that really could help us is the fact that Provo's airport will become an international airport in the very near future. They've already got American Airlines that's gonna come there. They've got the ability to do 10, I think from talking to Mayor Kafusi, I think they've got the ability to do 8 or 10 more gates. They've got all the infrastructure and they're going after funding to we have to build those. But as soon as those gates are built, they've got the international airlines wanted to come in. So that can increase the timing aspect of what could happen here.
Okay, does anybody want to make some comments? There's lots of good ideas here. Because to me, economic development cover a wide range, but anybody want to make any comments?
I'll make a comment on appearance, and I totally agree with that, and it's been kind of a Achilles heel, of course, but that's exactly what we're trying to do with the downtown area. Spending quite a probably 10 or 12 million dollars to take care of that and improve the infrastructure there. And so that's what we're trying to do. And again, with the different neighborhoods, there's problems when we're working with the police department to try to get some code enforcement to take care of some of the properties that aren't what we want to be reflected. But that's a kind of a long drawn out process. It's not that it's not being addressed. It just takes some time to do that.
Yeah, I think it all starts with the city has to be better for the residents in the long term. That's what we're doing all this for. If it's worse, I mean, spending for 5 and 6 is a mess. It's not better. A lot of economic growth. So if it's not better for the residents, what are we doing? So
See, then that's part of what we're trying to do. We've got 4 different areas that we're trying to concentrate on, so we don't have it all in the same area. Like Spanish Fork, 800 South is gonna figure into it. North Main's gonna figure into it. The new interchange is gonna figure into it.
but if we just grow,
Right, just to grow, yeah.
Exactly right.
quality of life goes down, we lost.
Yeah.
So how do we balance it?
Yeah, somebody didn't put smart girls on here, but I was saying smart girl. Yeah, had some.
Oh, I was just gonna have parents and this section of housing and all this is. And it sounds like there's been some reporting, some developers that's what they do. And maybe setting goals, firm goals. To add to this, say, hey, we've got safe places, so for every affordable house. You've got 25%, 1 in 4 houses one has to be affordable, but you have to be higher end. And because in my mind, that's important. We don't want to become Park City. But we also.
But we need to be kind of a hybrid.
About,
Yeah.
yeah, we want to be a Payson. And what does that look like? And I think businesses come, you know, with the proper rooftops. And yeah, I understand, you know, developers are there to make money. There are developers out there who only focus on the finance stuff. And so supporting that. With Robert and Jill's help, we got a, what, $250,000.
I wish it was 250.
Yeah, so do I. But there is an ongoing effort to improve the entrance into Payson on North Main. That's sort of $1,000 grant to do that, and that's, you know, going through that process to again enhance the image of Payson City. With the stationary plan, the same thing. There's some areas out there that's coming from 8,000 south towards the south of Church Park, church property. We got people that are interested in that and developing that, which would enhance what the feeling and what it looks like, Payson. And it could be just something, you can't believe how many good comments that we've got, just putting flowers on the poles coming up North Main. It just, you know, overwhelming how many people just think that that's the cat's me house, so to speak. And that just is a aesthetic that changes people's minds as well.
Well, your emphases are very important.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I've been involved in business expansion back in my working days a little bit, and probably not what we're looking for. But even with the company I was with and our little expansions around, we always took a drive through town, not just in and out. We drove around town. And I bet you most people who are coming to your community take a drive around town. And so, you know, if they just see junkyards, then that's not as right. And I'm not saying that's what they're seeing. I'm just saying that's not very attractive.
Well, just today, you know, I took something, some my taxes down to the post office, and I had a citizen come up to me and just rave about the flowers, how wonderful that looks. And it's, you know, it makes a difference.
And the Christmas lights.
Hmm?
And the Christmas lights.
And the Christmas lights, that makes a difference. And we've had been the benefactor of somebody passed away. Greg Fouts passed away, and we wanted to make sure Payson City got a chance to do what we needed to do. And we had worked with him for a couple of years prior to his passing, and that makes it. And that's a lot of people talking about that as well.
Okay, so we're talking about the economic development, and we're gonna have some more questions in a minute, but I just want to give you a little bit more about diversity and what economic development is. This is, I found this online. It's called Economic Development 101. If you ever want to watch it, it's like an hour and a half. But I found about 10 minutes I thought was really kind of key to what we're trying to do.
Starting to
Can't hear that, can you?
This program today will share some of the perspectives of our teams. So let's just take a look at that modern holistic definition.
Hear that?
Take that to the space for a moment. Give us fiscal impact, meaning it's great to bring in, you know, a business or new residential to serve, but if we end up with a drain on our fiscal resources because of either, you know, our tax rates are they're not lined up with the needs. One of the numbers we've seen a lot is when you look at residential versus commercial versus industrial, the cost to a community to provide services to each of those, it is, I think it's a 0.6 for every dollar tax revenue. It only costs 0.6 for industrial, commercial a little bit higher, maybe 0.8. That's fire, that's police, that's all of the infrastructure. Versus residential, which is like a 1.7. So for every dollar that a residential community brings in tax revenue, it costs a community about $1.27 back, about 27 to provide those resources. So, you know, as we're starting to look at land use, we're starting to think about how do we plan these communities. we're gonna be looking at the fiscal impact, and economic development does that too. You know, they run fiscal impact analyses, not just tax revenue analysis. That second piece is bringing those quality jobs, really digging in and trying to figure out, are these the right jobs for the community? I mentioned career mobility. We look at things like, is there employee ownership potential? Is there benefits to in the jobs that are brought in? The economic development folks are asking these questions. It's not just enough to have 100 new jobs. If those jobs are 100 new jobs paying $8 an hour, would you rather have that? Or do you want to look for something that really benefits the community and you're looking, especially if we're talking incentives, which John will talk about very briefly, I think. We want to incentivize those better jobs with higher paying jobs because we start to see the impact in our communities when the wages are not moving. When it comes to housing, when it comes to a lot of the services and social needs that are required, down to education system. So we're looking at improving in economic development, improving the standard of living of residents by attracting jobs with higher wages, career mobility, housing for community benefits agreements for companies that come in, getting them to be better citizens. Really working with our existing businesses to help them grow and help them be stable in the community. So standard of living, that also includes, our parks and our other resources that create good quality of life. It's not just a financial standard of living. That's important. And that economic development, you can see the direct link to planning. We want to be as part of that. We're going to talk about target industries as well, but economic development has really evolved to not just, there's a famous saying, shoot anything that flies, claim anything that falls. So you just kind of do the shotgun approach and whatever lands in your lap, economic developers will take credit for. We're trying really to create some targeted industries based on our demographics, based on our strengths, our assets, and doing some clustering creates that resiliency. It creates that strength in a particular economic sector. That's really important for planners to help with the demographics and the information and making sure that the land is available, that the educational resources are available, that we can create some of that with the infrastructure. So that's really exciting, and Steve's going to talk about target industries a little bit later. Because it'll be interesting to know whether your communities have target industries or not. And if so, if you know what they are, again, we'll speak about that in a little bit, but those are some really great opportunities to help with that standard of living way of life. Matching workforce training. I was going to talk about this, but really being able, economic development analysis, the industry, what do you need? What are the specific programs that you require, those skill sets? Career and college academies, helping us through communities as great partnerships or internships or apprenticeships to help create that pipeline for the labor force. And, so it's not just, just general, we do provide some basic workforce training, but the more we can connect with the industries, the better off we are. Housing, we all know as planners, housing is a major issue. Anybody here, anywhere understands that affordability has become a thing of the past. We're looking at rising real estate rates. We're looking, how are we trying to, in economic development, if you're trying to recruit a business, help a business expand, you've got to provide them a labor force. The building's actually the easy part. It's having those operations up and ready that's the difficult part. So having a local qualified workforce that can live in and around the community, reduce the impact on transportation networks and traffic and the expense of living farther away. There's a great resource, which is a housing and transportation index. You can certainly send out the link later on. You can kind of see how much somebody's income is spent for both housing and transportation. So these are all things that we grapple with as planners. And economic development is starting to look into before they kind of shied away from housing. But they're recognizing in order to bring these big companies in, they've got to have that housing resource. We're seeing that pitch. We've got phenomenal big business attraction here in Georgia, 2,000 jobs, 500 jobs, and the housing market is feeling the pinch, so that's really important. Absolutely, small business and entrepreneurship. There's so many jobs, and I get the number wrong. It's 85–90% of all new jobs are associated with small business, and this is a real opportunity to create those for economic development, to help support that entrepreneurship, to help support those small businesses. Christopher Pike is going to talk about small businesses and some of the resources that your community can use. And I want you to think about, how do I, as a planner, how do I help support that? They may have an organization, a small business development center that can help support small businesses, but what can we be doing as planners? Land use and development and envisioning our redevelopment plans for corridors. How do we start to think about small business and entrepreneurship? What are some of those things that we can do? Finishing out, a couple more, addressing retail gaps and service gaps. We see so much, and I'll give an example on Hayesville, we see so much emphasis on residential and some.
I'm gonna stop just for a second there, bro. So retail gap with home building supplies, we have like a $50 million gap here in Payson that we show Home Depot. And so just all these things are just really interesting how they go along. I know back to the housing, and I'll get back to this, but I know that that's one thing Lynn talked about a lot, that you need places for his workers to be able to live and not have to drive or even be able to attract them. So all these things so far, I just love this presentation because it just nails almost everything we want to look at. So
somebody who again straddles that world, I keep saying, look, we don't want to become a bedroom community. We have to keep pushing the commercial piece of this. And so otherwise, we got a lot of people living in a place where we cannot serve them in terms of their everyday retail or service needs, whether it's grocery store, we have plenty of food deserts, planners, we talk about that all the time. Having these conversations with economic developers and saying, hey, we need this in the community. Let's do a retail gap analysis, or let's sit down and figure out how we can attract not just your big players, your industrial, your commercial players, but how do we get some of the retail in here? How do we get on their radar in order to best serve the community? What are some of the programs we can do together? Tourism has emerged in economic development, really. I think more so historically, those are lower wage jobs, but we're really seeing the impact on communities that can really embrace tourism and get all of those dollars in, whether it's through hotel tax or different kinds of opportunities to get folks to come and stay. Last one, and I think it's really key, and there's so many more. I could go on for 3 hours. It's a 3.5 hour for everybody. So, and that is equitable access to infrastructure. And by that, I mean, yes, water and sewer and roads and transit and telecommunications, right? Broadband. So I think those are really important from a planning perspective about equity.
Going back real quickly to how we look, it's very important. It's a very frustrating process because we can do everything that we can do to make that change, but we need the cooperation of the courts to be able to do that as well. We can send police officers out every day of the week and cite people for violations of code violations, but those kind of things go to the court. And we need the court's help to be able to do that. And if the court's not and we can't influence the court. I mean, the court does what they do. That's why it's such a slow process. It's not that we're not trying to approach that. It's just that it's a frustrating process, and it's just slow.
Thank you. So this is a 5 factors driving economic growth in small cities. This is a study they did in Michigan State. And and with over 300 small communities, but they came with 5 key elements that differentiate these cities from other cities for experiencing success, economic development success. One was development of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Now we'll talk about the other one too. Then human investment, driving new economic growth, strong social capital, strong quality of place. We talked about that, and a dedication to progress. So these are some of the things to think about. The studies show these are the things that help cities experience economic success.
You know, and real, you know, the social capital, there's a number of things that would drive that. And yeah, the predominant religion is the LDS religion, but we've got other people that come to this area that would like to have something other than the LDS religion. And so we've addressed the Orthodox Catholic Church down that's got the onion tops. I can't remember exactly their name, Father Justin Haven. We've made them welcome just recently. Center Point Church is wanting to locate here. They're negotiating to buy, unfortunately, on one side, the bowling alley. They want to come over and locate here, which would bring other people to the area, and then it would bring some more people for jobs. And so we've been very accepting of those kind of things. And tourism. You know, we're doing everything we can for tourism. Gary Patel, he's owned about 15 hotels. He's going to build at least one, maybe 2 hotels here eventually. But one of the things he asked, the very first thing when we sat down and met, he says, "Do you have a sports complex?" And I was happy to tell him, yeah, we spent $8.4 million on the sport complex. He says, wonderful, because that's when I build hotels, people come and stay in my hotel. And that's what the benefit of the CMP will be. That will bring people here and they'll stay in those hotels, and the motocross track that we're working on, that'll bring. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to usurp.
Right, thank you, Mayor. So these are, again, just 12 different things of it, just kind of showing the diversity of economic development. We talked about a lot of these, but it's so diverse. It's not just bringing the big box and the residential employees, but the whole gamut of things. And a lot of this is laying groundwork for the big box or the restaurants or the employment. So that's just things to think about. So
Brian, my point is, I mean, we talk a lot about creating jobs, but unemployment rate is so low. So how do we differentiate what jobs we do want?
Right.
A lot of people look at manufacturing like us, all low pay. Well, those guys are probably making a lot more than a teacher for the most part. I mean, they're making 80 to 100,000, most of them. So what do we want? Targeting those clusters, the industries we want. So it's a give and take. I mean, we create jobs. Yeah. There's plenty of jobs, right?
And we're working on that with MTech. That's going to be one of the big, booms for the community is MTech. And then their association with the high school and changing the minds of some of the high school students that think that, yeah, you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor or something, but you can be a pipe fitter, you can be a worker there, you can be an electrician, you can diesel mechanic, small engine mechanic. And so the entrepreneur that Brian has been developing the makerspace. So we're trying to address. You got to change the mindset of the high school kids because they're the coming workforce.
Well, you're right, exactly right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. What kind of jobs to attract, and if you give incentives for different things, depending on what it is. Maybe you get one of these things, talk about $8 hour job versus 20 or 30 hour. There's a difference, and that's what you gotta, when you're planning, you gotta look at those things. You could probably bring in
a few $8 jobs out there.
not anymore. Not anymore, right? I don't think there is even a dollar for that $8 hour job. So just some of the what benefits the community for economic development? You get employees, it pays for your employees, quality of life, parks and amenities, roads and infrastructure, public safety and housing funding. So it's important because that's how we support our city is through economic development. That's how, Robert has a job and he wants more people to help him with his job. And if we don't have economic development, then that's hard to do. But again, a lot of the groundwork is not just the main thing. It kind of goes like this, builds like this. It's like a pyramid.
They talk, what benefits the city the most? What economic development? They talked about industrial being 0.6 and residential being a green, but sales tax, you get to keep a lot more than property tax. Right.
Yeah, and that's the way it works is, so like, it's like every $1.7, $1 you bring in on a housing development, it's takes $1.7 to support that. So houses do not make the city money, even though you have property tax, very big, very.
First
little.
year impact fees.
Yeah.
But that's it.
So that's just for growth, and that's not to support them after. But with industrial, that you create jobs, they spend money in the city, and retail brings the sales tax. So, and they don't cost as much support either. The roads don't cost as much, the police doesn't cost as much. All those type things don't cost as much. I think, Robert, you're gonna say something about that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a really, really important thing. I think one thing that has to be taken into consideration as well is that online sales creates a point of sale at every single residential home now. And so we get to capture some of that Amazon shopping, some of all of those sales that we're making from our computer at home or from our phone. We can capture that a little bit, and that offsets a little bit, but not nearly to the degree that it costs a city to provide services for residential development. And so those are the things that we just have to balance. I think, Larry, to your point earlier, making sure that we save space in our community for all of our needs is really, really important. And hopefully we have that magic secret sauce that says we've created enough space, but not overly burdened in certain areas. So I think that's really good.
Going back to the sales tax, we need it, and it's not the panacea that maybe we thought that it was at one point. The state takes their share of that sales tax. There's another one, the point of sales tax, which is our citizens going over to Provo or American Fork. There's a way to get sales tax back. Here is the formula that based on your population. And I can't remember what, Todd, you'll probably know more about that, but there's a formula that helps us get sales tax from out in the county area when people. So we have two different ways: point of sale, which be inside the city, and then that one outside the city. There's a formula that's based on our population, and we get some of that.
Yeah, the cities get 1% back of all sales tax. Half of that comes from the point of sale in your city. The other half comes from your population when they split it up. So like Elk Ridge, they don't have any retail, but they get some because they get this half percent.
One of the places we could help them, become part of our city.
So right here, when we're about to get past all just the understanding economic development, and then we'll start figuring out for Payson. But this is just some of the benefits of economic development. Get you a diversified and increased tax base. Your revenues will grow faster than your services for increase. You have business retention. You have diversification of commercial industrial areas. You maximize property through highest and best use. Retain jobs, create jobs, become self-sufficient with state cuts off money or federal. You recognize local products and it's beneficial between working with local governments, business, and community. Okay, so let's go down to this. Not gonna do that one. Okay, we're gonna go through these really fast. Does everybody know what SWOT is? A SWOT measurements, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I'm gonna go through really quick. We're gonna do some cloud things on so we can fill in our SWOT analysis for Payson. I'm gonna go to that real quick. So you need to get to your phone again. I'm gonna skip that one. So skip the one that said skip the one that says, economic development again. So you want to go to further Payson strengths. Can't cheat, Larry.
I wrote down a list of these before I came.
If anybody ever wants to get up and get more food too, feel free. Got lots of food now. Well, they aren't showing up on my thing here. Has anybody done submit yet? Okay,
So many chests, so many bucks.
you don't have to fill them all in. Just one. I think, yeah, I was gonna go change this. I think there's 10 there, is there, but you don't fill them all in.
Don't fill them all in.
You can if you want.
You can come up with 10 ideas, do it.
Salmon supper. I don't know. Court.
Lots of good things. We have lots of strengths.
Have somebody stand up on
Because we're diversified, right? It looks like kind of Nebo Loop and location, business park and temple are kind of the top ones. But there's a lot of good ones here. And I'm gonna show you one we did when we were doing this a few years ago. We'll take some of these and maybe add to or take away from. Let's go to the next one is,
I had to step out, but one of our strengths, I can't read all of them, but one of our strengths is we're south and it's working its way south.
yeah, I think there's a location on there, one of them. Okay, let's do other threats. Hopefully this isn't as long.
Enter a word. No sentence, just a word.
Or a couple of words. Because if you put a sentence and nothing matches.
Put in the legislature.
Bill.
Put in the legislature.
Yeah.
Let's move in there.
Could be. So come from California, right?
But yeah. But it's true. I told people, so whenever someone comes through.
Nobody, there's nothing really stands out. There's lots of different ideas. So everybody got that in?
So that's what I was.
Looks like the biggest ones are infrastructure and other cities. Okay,
Well, the infrastructure, we're an old city, and so we have a lot of needs with that infrastructure, and some of the needs are gonna have to be fulfilled with the growth that we get, the extra money from retail, not from residential, but from retail. The residential part the developers will take care of that infrastructure. We need more businesses to help us with the old infrastructure.
so the next one is what are Payson's opportunities? I think we have a ton of opportunities.
Mine's the middle there.
Okay, has everybody got that done? Great. Looks like there's nothing really that stands out.
Some of them are very simple.
Right, right. So we'll have to go through them and kind of put them together, but
It's like planning comes out of line.
got like M-Tech, UVU, colleges, recreation, runner,
We're going along
land.
with location, location area to expand. We got 31 square miles we could expand into. The virgin area, and there's not a whole bunch of obstacles that are in our way, like Provo and they have the lakes in their way, the lake's not our way. And so we have an area that as long as we manage it right, we have a great area to expand in. And so I think that's
as we expand west, and the problem is the railroad track, is that.
a major one. I mean, we tried to get the sewer underneath that railroad tracks, and we've said it for a number of years since I've been mayor. Once we get that underneath, things could really pop out there. We may want not to have them take off quite so fast once we get the sewer under there.
That could be a threat.
That could be.
Okay, next one's facing challenges. Or this railroad tracks be a challenge too. Yes, it's not a threat.
But it can be also an advantage too, because there's a lot of things that need to be transported by rail that's cheaper. So we need to maximize the advantage there too.
Interest rates.
I didn't put it, but the challenges could be the legislative process too, because too much, and we've said it time and time again, and the media powers kind of got slapped down a little bit, the county commissioner. Much of that funding goes to the north. And we've even with MAG, when I've said there with MAG, Mountain Land Association of Government, they want to create a process where the Utah County mayors can focus on their wants and needs. And one of my suggestions was, okay, we know we got needs to the north of us, but there's got to be a trigger that says, okay, we spent quite a bit in the north. Let's filter some of that to the south. And we got to trigger that somehow. And so that we don't spend an inordinate amount of money, which we already have to the north, realizing they have a problem, but we want to get ahead of the ball game. For example, there could be a mega site out by Alberta and in that area. And people are looking at that. There's interest in that. LDS Church has got a whole bunch of water out there that they've put out in that area. That might not happen for 5 to 10 years, but then again, it might surprise us if we don't have the infrastructure traffic wise. Where in the world hurt? Talk about growing too fast.
Okay, so it looks like a lot of this is growth, around growth and infrastructure and transportation. So what I'm gonna go to next is back to the PowerPoint. So this is what we did a couple of years ago for strengths, threats, opportunities, and challenges. And I can go back minutes later, but why don't we just quickly go, if anybody has anything that they feel strongly about, strengths or threats or opportunities or challenges that should be on this list or shouldn't be on this list, because that's kind of what we're putting together for our economic strategic plan. If you can look through that, let's do strengths first. Is there anything that should be taken off this, or you would like to add to this as strengths? You probably don't know what nexus is, converging roads. There's actually, UDOT has a plan to put another road coming off the interstate up by the bed, close to between Main Street and the Benjamin exit. That's gonna go, it's gonna be a road that takes a lot of traffic off I-15, because it's gonna be another like interstate, but go through the Utah Lake that anyway. So it's gonna be another. So a lot of that traffic might be going past Spanish Fork at some point in time, but it'll be going through Payson. So
And that's in a 2050 plan. There's a number, and that'd be a parallel freeway that would come off, it's, the southern part of Utah County, right here between Spanish Fork and Payson. And then it will come back onto the freeway around the American Fork and Pleasant Grove, maybe a little bit farther north. But it would go over the Provo Bay, and it would be a structure to go over it. But that's unfunded. That's just something that is being looked at, and it might not be till 2050.
I think on strengths and on opportunities, you ought to add celebrations.
There you go.
Very good one, yeah.
I think, especially like the Onion Day celebration, there's opportunities for a lot of businesses to take advantage of there,
And
rather than just the setup in the park.
But then we've talked to Ty, the businesses downtown need to take advantage of it, and they felt like they're going to interfere, but they need to take advantage of all those. Got a lot of people come to the city, even the Salmon and the Cottage Festival, 5,000 plus over a couple, 3 days. That we need to take advantage of that.
So you said that was strengths and opportunities.
People to take advantage of those celebrations.
I kind of read a lot of the comments on the Payson happening, and I'm sure you guys do too, but I know what it seems like there's a lot of people complaining about utilities and the cost. Oh my gosh, my bill doubled. And I know it's not like you have a whole lot of control over that. Is that something that,
That's a challenge.
That's a
Threat.
challenge,
And threat.
in my opinion, is that the citizenry is not very bright in that regard.
Should I put
what do you
that
mean by
challenge?
that?
Dumb
The
citizens.
challenge.
No, not that they're dumb, they just don't
You can
learn,
put Facebook.
they don't understand how a
Right.
city works.
Well, and it's something that's a national problem that we have
Yes.
to adjust to.
And they don't understand that the rates aren't because we're trying to pad our pockets.
No, I don't think they believe that. They're just shocked. It's like a sticker shock.
They do believe that. There's a lot that do believe that we are padding our pockets. Go to California. Power rates. We've got those kind of, natural gas is gonna go up 25%.
See, that's the volatility has been introduced. It used to be they just kind of hum along with all the coal fired plants and it would just be really easy to forecast. Well, now that they're falling off the wayside and you're introducing
Other forms of energy.
wind and you know,
Solar.
solar panel, they're not
They're not anywhere near as reliable.
no, they're not reliable. And so it fluctuates up and down, up and down. Sometimes they'll even pay you to take the power, but that doesn't last very long. Maybe 3 hours out of the day, they might pay you to take it. But most of the time, if you're exposed to the market, it's gonna kill you.
The other thing I hear a lot of is, if we're so restricted, we have no water, why are they allowing more growth?
Well,
Yeah, that's just
And
a misnomer.
It is a
We
misnomer.
have lots of water. We have to have to
I
pay.
think that's the real key to this and everything that's been said is managing fear and concern.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good point.
Misinformation.
some of that problem, and we need to conserve, that's exactly right. I mean, you want to do that. One of the reasons we're watering on different days, odd and even days, is because of mistakes in the past where the system was undersized. They knew it was undersized, but couldn't afford or didn't want to afford the right size of pipe in the ground, and we'll fix it later. We got to avoid that kind of mentality because you put it in the way it needs to be put in, because you never go back. And if you do go back, it's going to cost you more money. And so that's one of the reasons that we do alternate days, because the pressure is not good if everybody waters at the same day.
And the days of cheap water are long past. Long past. And that's what everybody's used to is water was cheap. It's not. It's very expensive.
Okay, that's some good ideas. Inflation, management fears, misinformation, and then with celebrations. Yes.
So under opportunities, I would also put front runner station. And a new interchange.
But that can also bring challenges because I know, and I know you know that. But the challenges are, we had that brought up in the city council meeting, that we don't want the element that brings. Well, we had the same challenge with bus stops. It can bring people that maybe aren't the best type of people to come here, that are homeless and different things like that. But you realize what those challenges are and then address them before you ever get here. And so that could be a challenge as well.
Well, going along with that too, we have a lot of green space, especially around the new interchange.
Have a lot of
And we don't have the problem, a lot of these cities that are already developed where that front runner goes through, it goes right through the middle of the town. We don't have that. We got virgin.
On the outskirts.
Yeah, we got on the outskirts that we can build around and avoid some of those problems.
I think that leads to the whole plan, because you only get one time to do
That's
this.
exactly right.
Gotta be done right. Larry, we gotta save some good spots for later.
That's why we got Robert and Jill, and we got the team that really rocks it.
That's a really important point, because when we put density where it's supposed to be, then we do save areas where it shouldn't be.
How old is our master plan? I know the last one I saw was when we did this before, wasn't it like 2020.
Yeah. Just after I got in, or just before it started.
I think we want to do one
Is it
in 5 years, just 5 years. Really.
Yeah,
So-
it's 6 years old.
We'll
Roughly.
anticipate
Or
that
4 years old, that's right.
that process in the 25-26 budget year.
Is it, I still think, because I know at that time we bypassed doing, because they had the portion for economic development. And we bypassed that and kind of cowboyed it ourselves on there. I'm not sure that it would be best to, when that's being addressed, to have them like address like, what holes have you got? Like, what are your strengths? You know, looking at it from more of an experience level.
You're
If the
talking to
city can-
consultant.
Exactly, if the city can come up with it, because like Linda said, you've got one time to plan it on there and you've got to do it right.
Yeah.
On there, and I think that it would be an ideal time to do that and make sure that you've got it right when you're updating it. And I know it costs dollars because it was expensive, wasn't it, before?
Oh, yeah.
It took 18 months to 24 months to get that done. And that's, Brian reminded me, it's only 4 years old. It took about 2 years to get it done. And then we've spent 4 years since it's got done.
Hopefully, because it hadn't been done prior to that, it was so expensive and took so much time. Now we have good foundation that can be updated rather than completely redone.
Redone. And we did all three of them together, which was a good thing.
And back to what you're talking about, maybe we want to do this a separate thing, because they didn't really have experience in economic development and it covers so much. Because what we're trying to do is put this together. Maybe we next year we hire somebody and take everything we've done and put together a great plan for us, because we've done a lot of the groundwork. So.
And I think to do some studies to really get into the numbers too and to understand like where the opportunities are, where the holes are. And just to help us to identify what we don't know on there. I think it would be money well spent myself.
Yep. Have any idea what a consultant would cost to put that together?
I think that.
Start with 6 figures.
I think that if you're just doing an update to the economic portion, you're probably in the range of 70,000. We're anticipating an update to the general plan would be in the 100,000 range. The last time I think the city spent 400.
Yeah, but we did.
But there were 6 plans that were done.
Roads, water, and everything. Yeah.
I know it's a lot of money, but I would be willing to challenge that it would pay dividends.
I would agree.
Well, that's where Robert said we got a good foundation. Now we did the general plan, the specific plan, and the master plan all at the same time. And then now we just need to go back and tweak things as we go.
Because we have a lot of data is really important. When you make decisions based on good data,
Exactly.
you make more sound decisions.
Agreed.
And so making sure that you have good data for these guys to make good decisions is really, really important. And that's worth a lot of money and that's valuable.
That's just like doing the truth and taxation. You know, we got to keep up with what the real costs are. And sometimes it creates some angst for the people because we have to put certain things up so that we can have flexibility. But truth and taxation actually helps all the citizens, helps the budget, and it helps. I keep saying this, but it's real. It helps with Standards and Poor with their evaluation for bonds. It helps us to get cheaper a bond rate, which saves us a lot of money.
Another citizen training that needs to happen big time.
That's what I was gonna say. I think the biggest challenge. You have the old school people that don't want anything to change, and you have the new ones that want to see more restaurants and everything. And how do you balance those two?
Very difficult.
And whoever's the most boisterous, and the city council changes every
4
2
years.
or, I mean.
Every 2 years.
Two new ones and the direction. So if it's clear with.
That's been my biggest fear is, hey, we're going down a good path. Let's not deviate from it. Let's tweak it a little bit. Let's not wholesale go a different direction, which has happened in the past.
Well, I added 2 more then. Executive for challenges, executive housing and balancing goal.
Can I add one?
No.
Just because you asked.
You go to smaller fonts.
Mhm.
Yeah, oh, I was just thinking, we've, ever since I've 5 years, there's been talks to hotels and stuff like that. My fear is that we'll get, this motocross track, this nice gun range. And then Spanish Fork is gonna get all the sales tax, place to stay and eat.
That's why we need to pay attention. They told us a story with the CMP The Talladega did not take advantage of it. They did not want, and that's where the planning comes in. Talladega didn't want that. And so all the surrounding areas around them did exactly what you just said. They jumped on the bandwagon and Talladega didn't. So we need to jump on that bandwagon.
A city's not that much different actually than a business.
Right.
And you've got to spend money to make money.
Right.
So you've got to be willing to put out the money for the.
And have the guts to do it.
So,
Investment.
Ty, going back to what you said, one of the threats is lost opportunity to other cities.
You a bond for the swimming pool and a golf course.
Yeah.
But, yeah, specifically, places to stay, description, building of the tourism.
And maybe I already,
That's the whole thing.
maybe I've already said it, but one of the problems with, and it's not just Payson, there's other cities that have done it, but have spent just enough money to fail. And we got to avoid that pitfall. Spend what we got to spend, but if you spend enough just to fail, you've wasted your money.
Okay, any other things on strengths, opportunities, challenges and threats? That's been a good discussion. I appreciate it.
I think we should take a 1-minute stretch break.
Okay, there's restrooms over here. Okay, thoughts.
I think I still, when I read through these, from what we did, 4 years ago, I still think that they apply to Payson. I still think they're good. I'm not seeing a lot of things that need to change personally, but I do think we need to take that next step and to actually do strategy like we did with some of those other ones that we pulled out, because we didn't actually break down these goals, or that was one of the things I know that you and Dan and I had talked about when we met over at the library, was tackling these to make an actionable.
Right. And that's where we start working on these things down here. Here's the strategies, what's getting done, who's gonna do it, who's responsible, budget, stuff like that. But that's a deep dive into this, but we gotta have, I wanted to make sure we were on this kind of track to do the deep dive if we're going down the right track. So let's go back to these. So we talked about entrepreneurship, innovation, manufacturing, basically some of these going back to clusters or economic development. We've already talked about, here's things you want to work on. Hopefully it fits those. So Payson is a vibrant hub for entrepreneurs, innovation, high tech manufacturing. That sound good? Yeah. Okay, outdoor recreation, hospitality, and tourism. Payson embraces tourism opportunities, community celebrations. Somebody brought that out. That was great. Recreation businesses and other activities that allow visitors to contribute to the economic vitality of Payson, which is what you're talking about.
So can I ask a question about that in my capacity as development services director? The immediate thing that I think that people would ask about is, how do you feel about Airbnb?
I'm for it.
I think there's a place for them.
I think so, if it's properly licensed.
I like,
I like it.
I was gonna say,
I think it fits perfect.
Awesome. That's good to know. That's very good to know.
I think it would help. This,
So well, it goes right along with tourism. It really does.
It really does.
Get a hotel, a big hotel, that's your,
Yeah.
that's your walk around, that you're crawl, walk around, you're walking.
Yeah.
Which Airbnb.
in fact, one of my goals is turn that garage by that month.
The flip side that you will often hear is it has a significant negative impact on housing affordability. And that's why I just wanted to know.
How?
Because when you can rent your house out on an Airbnb for $300 to $500 a night or whatever, and your house becomes more valuable as a hotel than it does as a residential structure for
Are you working on laws, ordinances now to?
we currently do not have a specific regulation on Airbnbs.
So that's the key, is
There's a
to make the
lot of-
regulation solve that problem.
Well, I would love to hear that one.
I think one thing, Robert, you'll find is like in St. George, I think they've got too many Airbnbs now, and now they can't it's not sustainable.
And how do you regulate that?
There's certain areas in St.
That's why
George
they
you
don't
can't
have
have them.
St. George itself can't have Airbnb, but like Santa Clara.
Washington.
Washington, you can, so
Yeah.
how do you regulate it?
Anyway, I agree that. I agree that I think that Airbnbs is a really good opportunity for Payson. I think that's an important way, especially since we don't have a second fully operational hotel and things like that. Those are just things that you often get pushback.
But even that, even if we have some Airbnb, there will be certain people that want to do Airbnbs, and then there will be certain people who want the hotel. So give them the choice and would get some that would normally not even stop there.
So do they have to get a business license, I'm assuming, to do an Airbnb, or can they do it under the radar?
Can do it under the radar if they can call it home.
Oh,
Motor track or motocross track, and people are gonna wanna come
Yeah.
stay for fun,
Yeah.
family and that.
with the family, yeah.
And I would dare say that most people in this room have probably stayed in one.
Yep.
It's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
So, see,
And you get those people come and then you exposed to what there is here and they'll come back.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail us, but that's just a really important part of how you implement and when we're doing this strategy.
Thank you, Robert. Next one is transportation infrastructure. Payson will develop mass transit, freeway access, roads and infrastructure, accentuate the education, manufacturing, recreation opportunities available without creating growth gridlock.
Promise?
ambitious.
And that would be a supportive role, I think, because we don't have the tools to deal with it. That would be a supportive role.
Mayor's point, Payson isn't going to develop those things, but those things are developing.
Yeah.
But Payson is the one that can push for those, you know, make the direction and all that stuff. It's not like somebody, the state's just gonna come and do it.
Yeah, and a lot of that is strategic and it's already being done as well. We just need to be supportive of it. Like I say, I alluded to mountain lands. That's where the mayors of Utah County come in and approve or disapprove or tell the UDOT where we should have those funds being spent and whether, you know, you can adopt a grid system or not. And currently they're embracing and we're all embracing a grid system. And so a lot of times those things are being done, but I think we need to be better supportive of.
Well, one thing I can tell you is with freeway access. It's because of Payson went and got lobbyists. We got $100 million to put a freeway access in. It wasn't because the state told us or anything like that. We were proactive and as for economic development purposes. So there is a lot we can do.
Be supportive of it, yes.
Or be
Show a
proactive.
need,
Yeah.
show the need that's there.
Yeah.
And I think probably everybody here has contacts someplace. And we just need to be vocal to those contacts we have. And, you know,
Yeah,
and not just this group, but other people in the community have contacts.
Yep.
And if they'll just whisper in the ear of their contacts, that's how you got the freeway, isn't it?
exactly right.
So.
It was a combination between our lobbyists and the political contacts that we had and the church. That they had to be an integral part of that as well. But what you're saying is the Chamber of Commerce has got a big voice in supporting that and people listen.
Okay, next one is increase economic vitality. Payson recruits retail and / restaurants to provide a variety of shopping and dining experiences for Payson residents and to provide regional centers for these activities.
And this committee can help loads in that.
That sound reasonable? Hometown feel downtown revitalization. And it's really interesting. Every time we do surveys, and I was gonna put one of the surveys in here, but that's a big thing for Payson's hometown feel. And part of that to me is the downtown revitalization because that's where our synergies that's where the center of town be as we grow out.
I get asked all the time, are you gonna do dining in the street? He says, I know we've talked about it.
That's the goal.
Yeah, to shut the, close off the road and just do restaurants and tables and stuff in the streets, right?
Maybe eventually, but right now, there's three places on the sidewalk where they put it outside there, but it's not in the plans right now to close it and just have you're walking. But
Do you have
if
enough
it,
We went down that
sidewalk to do
road with Todd.
if it became,
Ty was trying to do insurance out in the street, is that what happened?
With the associations, the nonprofits got, trying to get together. We went down that road with the movie companies and, trying to get a synergy with the businesses that are there. And we don't want to lose that.
right. So Chris, I think the answer to that is if we got develop the downtown enough that there's enough synergy, enough businesses that do restaurants and that it makes sense to close it. Be a walking community and it's viable, that's where we want to go, but it has to get to that point.
Gotcha.
And the parking is a critical aspect of that, make sure. we have enough.
Down the draws us.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Besides El Tapatio?
But hopefully we get this place figured. Anybody want to go look at it when we're done?
There's not a reason to get off the freeway and go to downtown Payson, unless you're coming to the salmon summit. I mean, you've all been, and we're not San Diego, we're not Albuquerque, we're not Scottsdale, but they've all got their old towns and people go to their old town for a specific reason. We need to have a reason for them to come to our historic downtown.
And that's the focus of that $250,000 study that we've got. And that's to help people as they see this community. I gotta get off. I mean, I gotta come explore that place.
The one thing, it says revitalize
Yes, sir.
Payson's downtown, to provide a gathering place to keep the hometown feel as Payson grows. I think one thing we could add in here is something to do with the experiences, adventure. Add a little bit more pizzazz to that.
So the book talked about a place to gather. Is there a place in Payson to gather?
The Memorial Park.
So for events, but outside of the events, they're not gonna just come, they're not gonna come to Payson to go to the park, right?
Well, it's a unique park in the fact that it's got a lot of trees, a lot of shade. It's a place for families can come and enjoy it.
Summertime.
Could be a destination.
Yeah.
It-
Is there
it
a
could
photo
be
place? Is there
Could be a
photo place
simple,
in Payson?
when I was a kid, going down to Fish Lake was a yearly trek, but the focal part of that trek was stopping in Gunnison because they had a park and they had a swimming pool and a place to picnic. It was just kind of midway and every year that's where we look forward to going there. That could be that same.
Right.
Yeah.
I
We
think
need
that's
a
a really
creamery.
good point, though, Jim.
Ooh,
What
some good idea.
I was thinking about it in the terms of what areas of your city are Instagram ready? Like what parts of the city do you want people to come and do the selfie and say, oh, I was here today?
Yeah.
You know,
I would think
and-
Red
and
Barn,
really-
that's Santa Quinn.
Right,
Well,
and really focus on that.
Yeah,
Well,
do
yeah,
we
that's-
have a place? Is there a
That's why,
place now?
that's why we got involved with the Dowdle puzzle. Because there is a big billboard sized Dowdle puzzle that will be part of a nationwide tourism event. And when you said, take a picture or selfie, then that's
Oh, the
exactly.
big puzzle
Uh-huh.
that we're gonna do.
We got this theater here, we've got, I think there's opportunities to add.
Yeah, opportunities.
Features as well, I think that probably as is, nobody's going, oh yeah, I gotta look at places, I gotta go to Memorial Park. But if there's something at the park that is especially picturesque, like a fountain or a statue or something that just sets it apart. Okay, now I can see the draw.
Your Christmas lights in there was a
That
draw.
Christmas lights could be, yeah.
Yeah,
and-
the
mean, the
events
little
draw, but
trail.
Payson itself, it's not there yet.
Oh, sorry, Todd.
I was saying Mill Creek just won an award. I don't know if you heard about that in terms of its redevelopment. And it really focused in on that city area that they just sprung out nowhere. But the fact, I'll just say as an outsider to this a little bit, the fact that this group that is intimately familiar with this city cannot answer your question is a problem.
Well, I can answer. But downtown,
Downtown's really cool.
if you
If it's
look,
pretty.
especially around fall, family photos going on, they are all the time. And down over 100
So,
south. There's that wall, and there used to be wings on there. And people would always stop at that point. It was pretty cool. Here's what I envision. People stopping at the front down here, going to the food hall down here on their electric scooters because it's fun, and then eating, and then going to the temple. It's not very.
We're going to the Jewish.
Or going to the Hewitts, or going to some other experience based.
or getting more recognition for the films that have filmed the Hallmark films and
Right.
different things like that.
Are you gonna have a safe trail for those scooters? From front runner to here, it's kind of busy.
Something in the park in the summer for outdoor venue and then restaurants, if we usually go back.
Oh, good.
We did get a $50,000 grant from tourism to do some more stuff on the well, try to do a feasibility. Just got that
You guys got it?
last week, yeah. Okay, so I think we would beat that one up a little bit. So marketing, promotion, friendly business, climate. Payson is recognized as a destination for prospective businesses and a place for current businesses to thrive while attracting and retaining talent. I think part of that missing in here is the promotion and marketing. We need to beat that up a lot in face telling our story. I think put that in there. We need to tell our story.
I think you gotta be careful with that too, because you're one time, you can't just cave into everybody.
Right.
So some cities have, and now you have a hodgepodge with everything that's a mess. Right, because of.
But you've got fun trails. I mean, because I've started walking on a couple of the trails and they're fun. I mean, that's like to give them a map of all the trails that you can walk in. And this is a mile and this is, I mean, anyways, I was like impressed with the trail.
And hopefully in the near future, we would have the Highline Trail that would go the entire length of the Highline Canal.
Oh,
So the last was quality of life, and that goes along with trails, promote the healthy and active lifestyle for all of us. We could probably beat that up a little bit more for a goal.
Yeah, one other point in that book on those trails is that trails don't just dead end. They take you to somewhere you want to go.
historical value.
Yeah,
Ooh,
something at the very end of the trail or
an ice cream
Pop
cone.
gold.
it's not the end,
We should have a just.
you know?
Plaques saying. These
This is what happened here.
Yeah.
Oh,
interesting things.
Nothing exciting happened here, that's the sign. Thank you for coming.
Best Christmas ever.
no, you do the Photoshop. It's a selfie. Take a picture of you in the mountains.
So I think we're kind of on track. Anything really missing or that's outlined here, or do you think we're pretty much on track?
I just from downtown, I'd like to add more, like you were saying.
Right.
Experience based.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I think the last three, we could add a little bit more to that, beat them up a little bit. Well, the next thing I want to talk about, so again, we went through that. So the next thing I want to talk about is just a little bit about our Economic Development Committee. So we have these are committee members. And we've broken up into different groups, committees. And maybe Mark, you could tell us a little bit about, Kevin wanted to talk about this, but he had to leave. Got a new boss. Been tough on him, so anyway, why don't you tell us how your committee is working, how you've got a lot of people and the results of it?
There's really good synergy in that committee because you got a lot of people who are interested. They're already doing things like UVU and MTech are already reaching out their own way to recruit people. But I think the hook here is that we're saying we want to get those students engaged in Payson City businesses. And the way to do that is to be able to coordinate with those businesses. And I just, where's that flyer? We just put from it. There it is. So something like this is what we're looking at. We actually have, so it's UVU, MTech, and Nebo School District with the ALC. We actually had one of the students at ALC help us come up with just a flyer that we're hoping will engage businesses into thinking about, do I have an internship or a project that could really help my business take off. The idea behind that, though, was first finding out what are the needs and really understanding those needs so that we can marry up the students who want internship, special project experiences with those businesses that have those needs that could really help them grow in a way that they hadn't expected. Maybe it's marketing, maybe, or whatever the case may be. So we've been meeting together to actually just get this started. This is something we'd also put on the city webpage. And we want to start with a few businesses here locally, just to make sure they have a really good experience with the students, and then provide testimonials from those businesses here locally so that other businesses here locally will take a look at it. These guys have been, all these partners right here, they've been advertising for a long time. They're dying to find places for their students to have internships or to do special projects. And I think this is where we can really engage as a city and help them come to understand the businesses and their needs, and then get the students involved at that point. There's different opportunities that could occur. I mean, I think some of these students are looking for paid internships, but mostly they're going to be volunteer to get the experience that they really want and need in order to grow into whatever career they want to jump into. So our plans right now is, again, we've got this flyer. We want to now at this point get a couple businesses. Lorraine's on our committee, and she'll help us find a couple businesses that have expressed interest here locally to make sure we get them engaged and help them out and have a good experience, and then grow from there.
But one thing we need to do, so Mark's reached out and he brought a lot of people in, so we need to update this, who's on the committee. So it's not just us, but he brought a lot of people in. I think if we do each one of these committees and do that, and the golf committee has been very successful and tied with the downtown, but as we keep expanding these committees, and when we can go back to our strategic kind of plans and goals, kind of fit them into these committees. But anyway, thanks everybody that's working on that. So my question is, and then we have had assignments to go out and visit people. So my question is, let's go back to Mentimeter and let me see. I'm getting really tired. Long day today. I'm trying. Where am I trying to go?
Don't you?
Oh, I got to shrink this. There we go. Okay. Okay. What can we as an economic development board do to be more effective? So this group, what can we do to be more effective with the strategic plan, or with committees, or with making better Payson a better place? Just anything you think that this board can do to be more effective? That's what's working good. There's a lot of great ideas. Okay. Everybody got them in? I think there's a lot of great ideas, so next time we have an economic development committee, let's talk about how we're gonna implement some of these ideas. And be more successful as a committee. We've done lots of good things, but I think we can do a lot more to be a better committee and better resource for the city and for the planning zoning, for city council, development services, things like that. So,
You know, and some of the things is, you know, to be aware what the city council's doing. So that we can complement that or just be aware that they're doing, so we don't have to duplicate it and be supportive. One of the things, you know, survey a citizen, that's what the city's going to be doing. In very short order, right?
yeah,
So align with their goal, our goals, their goals, because if they're going this way, and we're there.
Cool. That's why communication be good. Yeah.
and that's why I want to go back and present this, to, you know, take to the public and let them have some input and say if they like it or don't like it. And then go to the city council and see if they're okay with it, then we can be all on the same page.
And sometimes that's, we need to educate the citizenry too,
Yeah.
get them engaged.
So pro messaging or education, what city.
Okay, great, thanks so much. I was gonna go through, try to do some goals for 2024, but we aren't gonna do that. We're gonna do that with the Economic Development Committee, but I appreciate it. It's been helpful for me, so I can keep moving forward. Has this been helpful? Did you like doing this?
So,
When is the next committee meeting?
We were gonna do it on the second Tuesday of each month at 5, I think, but
That's not good work.
yeah, I think that's kind of, I know. I have something that goes on 6 on Tuesday night. I think it was again 6. So,
I've got the minutes from the last meeting here. That was not-
Interesting. You alluded to we could do this, but all of this contribution to all of these questions have been so valuable, but how it gets distilled and how we actually action on it, right? It's a critical challenge, I think, as I've seen these happen in the past. Got to really be focused on.
yeah,
Accountability goals, we've set them and they're great.
right.
Well, what do they mean? How do we
Yeah.
time to do something? We can have lots of goals.
Well, I can tell you our goal in our golf committee.
Oh, I know the golf committee is one that.
Actually, I mean, because we really want to get new people. I mean, like people that are gonna make a big difference in our community. And so it's like our next goal in our next meeting is to have a list of people. So if any of you know of people that could really contribute to invite to the golf committee to let them see what we're all about. We're open to names, let's put it that way.
one of the things we have there is we've got a hard and fast date that we have to do it by.
Yep.
Right. And you have an advantage plan, but don't, some of this other stuff very fading.
So it kind of takes care of itself a little bit.
And I think
Right.
part of it goes back to this, where you have strategy, you have goals, you have 1-year goal, 2-year goal. Who's gonna be responsible for it? And, you know, so those things, so it's specific and you have assignments to follow up better than just say, here's our broad overall goal. You gotta break it down.
Need a laser focus, not a
Right.
shot.
Yeah.
Well, they will.
So I agree.
We need to get the list.
Brian, the meetings say second Tuesday, 5:30 to 6:30.
Yeah, that's what I thought was second Tuesday at 5:30, but that doesn't work for them. What? And now it seems like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights get really tough.
So why not 7 or 8 in the morning? 7 to 8?
We were doing that. It seems like we're getting 50% at 8 o'clock.
That may be good.
Well, it's hard to get things done if you're 50%, then you start over every time. What's everybody's thoughts? We got pretty much everybody here. What's your thoughts? So
Yeah, it's Monday, a good day.
you wanna go back to the 8 in the morning or
It's better for me generally, but.
The morning's
7:30.
better meeting.
mornings are better? Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, well, Monday, they have DRC, so that won't work. Monday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Tuesday they're doing construction meetings still, so.
Yeah, that won't be too much longer, I don't think.
So
Tuesday's
June,
generally bad. Me.
only longer than that. Yeah, right.
Thursday, you wanna do it earlier? So
Okay,
you,
going once?
7:30?
Or 7.
Can't do it, that's right. So, Wednesday, anybody have problems with Wednesday at 7:30?
Just not the third
Don't get
Wednesday.
around me.
First, second, or third? Or
No third.
Probably the second Wednesday, because that gives us time to put stuff together at the beginning of the month. We can look at financials, stuff like
So the
that.
second one in May would be at the 8th, right?
the eighth.
We'll be gone.
I'm gonna say, are we gonna be here, America? Let's see.
You're never gonna get anything different.
Right.
Yeah, but you guys are kind of crucial to be there, so I may have to work around you too.
Yeah, it is just 1 month.
Oh, we won't. Yeah, let's plan on the second Wednesday at 7:30, but this next in May, maybe we won't even have it in May. Or we'll change the time because Mayor and I are gonna be in. We're going to the Main Street program. We're gonna go see the gun range in Alabama, so.
Fun.
Get to shoot. Yeah. Oh my. This has been very helpful for me. Yeah,
Can you share the slides?
you bet. Yep.
He'll send them to me and I can shoot them out or
Okay,
whatever.
and it should, and I think that meta thing will save too. Then I can send those out, please.
Have you officially adjourned?
Yeah, we are adjourned.